Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If today is your first time seeing this channel, you are very much welcome. My name is Marilyn Bruce and I'm a Ghanaian-based menswear fashion designer. What I do here on this channel is to share the little knowledge I have in fashion designing. Today's tutorial is going to be on hip and butt padding. So if this is something that you're interested in, you really want to stay tuned and we are just going to get right into the tutorial. So first thing first, you're going to need your front and then your back skirt pattern. Okay, this should be on half block. So as you can see, I've labeled the waistline, the hip line, the under butt line, your knee length, and then the skirt length, which is not actually useful, but for the sake of the tutorial. So these are the measurements that you are going to need. You need to make sure you have these measurements down. So I'm going to start with the front pattern. So we are not making use of the center front, so I'm going ahead to indicate that so that we don't make any mistakes. So we are making use of the side of your skirt pattern. Okay, so from the waistline I came down by 2.5 inches. Then from the center point line, I'm just going to mark my nipple to nipple line on the hip line. Okay, and then on the knee line I'm going to come up by 3.5 inches and I'm going to mark that down. So at this point you have 3 dots which you're going to be connecting using your hip curve. Okay, so that is exactly what I'm doing. So after I'm done drawing my curve, I need to make sure I shape out the pointy edge because you don't want to have any pointy edges. Okay, then I'm going ahead to label what's the markings, okay, because I'm going to need that for my back pattern as well. So in order for me not to forget, I'm just writing that down, so you also have to do the same. So next off, you move to the back. So the front is actually very easy. We are done with the front, so moving on to the back. So I'll be making use of some of the measurements I used for the front, for the back. So for the waistline, I came down by 2.5 inches. Going to do the same thing for the back. And at this point, I made some mistakes with the measurement. So that is the lines that you can see that I have crossed. Please pardon my dirty work. So on the zipper line, you're going to come in by 1.5 inches. And then on the butt line, under butt line, you're also going to come in from the side by 4.5 inch. Then from the knee line, you're going to come up by 3.5. Okay, so if you can see the dots, that is what I've marked. So you're going to be connecting all these dots together. I hope you can see what I've done and it's not confusing, so you can watch this part again if the lines that I've made confused you. I'm very sorry, but I made a mistake with the measurements and I had to clear that. I could have drafted the whole thing again on a new brown paper, but I just didn't want to waste it. I'm sorry guys. So after that, you have to make sure you label your top and then your down so that you don't make any mistake or you don't get confused when you cut the pattern. Yeah, one thing you need to bear in mind is creating this hip and butt part varies from person to person, especially when it comes to the height and then the size. Someone might be taller, someone might be short, so you can use one measurement for everybody. Someone might be maybe a size 8, size 10, so you have to always make sure you adjust the measurements in order to make sure everything fits the appropriate client. The right size of whatever you are creating is going to fit your client. Okay, so this one that I made is for a size 10 person, so obviously this one can fit a size 18 or a size 20 person. So if I'm supposed to make another one for a size 18 person, I'll have to adjust the measurements. Okay, so this is the foam that I'm using. Is a half inch in thickness. I didn't want to do anything so thick because I wanted to maintain a natural look. I didn't want the whole hip to look like exaggerated. Okay, and that is the look you want to go for. You don't want everything looking so natural or looking so puffy, and if you're going to feel uncomfortable. So you need to make sure it's as natural as possible. So I'm going ahead to cut my pattern on the foam, and I'll be cutting one layer each. Okay, this um if the thickness isn't okay for you and you want to go for more thickness, you can double it and then cut 2 layers each. Then you can use your hemming gum to um stick it together, if that makes sense. So I'm going to be cutting, leaving just half an inch allowance on the sides, but then when it comes to the middle part where the two seams are going to join, I'm not going to leave any allowance there because that side is going to be hand stitched together like a zigzag stitch. Okay, so if you have a zigzag machine, you can just use that to bring your foam together. Okay, so you're going to see that in a bit. After, you can mark down the foam as well so that you don't get confused which points are supposed to come together or whatsoever. So here I'm just going ahead to measure how many inches I'm supposed to add on to the hip. Okay, you have to make sure you add on some measurements to the hip. So if the client's hip is 40 and then you have the thickness of the foam is 2 inches, that means that I'm going to be adding 2 inches on the front side of the pattern and then the back side of the pattern, the hip side only. Okay, else after you are done, your client will enter. You can't close the zip, so you need to add that extra allowance to give room to the foam. Okay, because I don't have a zigzag machine, I'm just going to be using the zigzag method of hand stitching to bring my foam together. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. I'm going to be hand stitching all this together. I'm going to do that on both foams, and then you're going to see the results. It just comes out just like using the zigzag machine. Okay, so after I'm done stitching, this is what it looks like. You can see how curvy it looks. Everything looks nice and neat. That is the look you want to go for. So here I'm just going to be trimming off the edges, okay, because if you don't trim that down to look smooth and blend into your dress or your skin, it's going to draw. Okay, you're going to see that line, but you want to have that invisible look. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. I'm just going ahead to trim off that edges so that it lies smoothly. Okay, so you have to do that to both the front, like you do that all around, and you're going to do the same thing for the other side of your hip and butt part. I didn't really trim a lot of my foam because it's just half an inch. Okay, so it doesn't really need much trimming. So this is what it looks like after I was done trimming. My foam was just half an inch, so if you have a thicker foam, obviously you're going to be needing more trimming to have a more smoother look. Okay, but this is what mine looks like. So here I wanted to show you what the already made hip pad looks like. Okay, so if your client requests just a hip padding, you can just drop the hassle and then get this one instead. But if your client requests for you to get the hip and then the butt, then you can go ahead and then customize like this for your client. But I'd always prefer to use this. It's just the same, the thickness and everything is just the same. So I think the ball is in your court, whichever way you choose. Yeah, they all have the same results. So after I was done, I'm just going to transfer my hip and butt foam to my lining. Okay, this always has to be on your lining. So after you're done, you can actually choose to cover the foam. Okay, but I'm not covering my foam because I just needed to avoid what do you call it, the dress was heavy. It's a beaded lace and it was heavy. Moreover, this was going to be sandwiched inside the dress, so I just decided not to cover the foam, but you can choose to cover yours. Okay, so here I'm just pinning down the foam, and I came down by 2.5 inches, just as I did on the pattern, so that it's going to sit at the right place. You also have to ensure that you are placing it right, else it's going to look funny on your client. So if you can see, the foam is facing downwards on the concave position on the wrong part of my lining. So if you can see how I have it there, you should know what I mean. Okay, so the curved part is actually facing upwards. Okay, so after you are done, you have to make sure you secure it very well with a pin before you take it to your machine. That's if you're going to stitch it with the machine. Okay, so this is what the inside looks like. If you're going to hand stitch this as well, you can do so. So if you can see, my lining was cut up somewhere, so I'm just going ahead to unpin it and then pin it well, because if this part doesn't sit right, your foam is going to look funny. Okay, you don't want that, so you have to make sure the lining is sitting perfectly, or your foam is sitting perfectly on the lining. Yeah. The moment of truth is here. So this is me here trying to see what it looks like, or what it's going to look like on my client. Yeah, before I go ahead and stitch, I'm just trying to ensure that they're all aligned perfectly, and one is not up, one is not down. So you can see it's not too much, it's just right amount of hips that a normal human being is supposed to have. We don't want any improper BBL things here. So this is what it looks like. It looks so nice, and it's not too much to my view. Yeah, at this point I was just so much in love. Look at that, just look at that. It looks so nice, but this is just the lining. Okay, so this is going to go inside another garment. Okay, so here because my foam is very thin, I changed the stitch length of my machine to 5, because I didn't want to stress or drag the foam, else it's going to tear. Okay, so I just changed the stitch length to 5 so that it can move freely on the foam without any stress. Okay, because the foam is very very thin or light. Yeah, just half an inch. So after I just stitch it on both sides, then you're good to go. So after I'm done, I'm just going to pin that onto my main fabric, wrong side facing wrong side. The wrong side of the lining is going to face the wrong side of the main fabric, and I've gone ahead to pin. I haven't sewn that down yet. I just want to see what it looks like. Yeah, so this is what it looks like. Very very nice and clean, just the right amount of hips a person of her size should have. Yeah, not too much, just the right amount. I think we are good to go. At this point, I just had a little excess on my main fabric, the lace around the hip area. So I'm just going to go ahead and then I'll smoothen that out. Then I think we are good to go. It's looking perfect. Very, very perfect. And I'm sure it's going to look good on her. So I went ahead to check it out on me and see what it's going to look like on my clients, and I think I love the results. The only problem I could see here is around the hip area. I think it just needs a little blending. There's some excess around the hip area. This is what it looks like on my dress form. Very nice and neat, clean. And so I think this is it. Very simple tutorial. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'll be in my comment section to answer. And this dress is like 80% done. And let me know if you also need a tutorial on how this type of corset is made. Until then, I'm going to see you in my next tutorial. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Bye.